Hello everyone, I'm Lin from Studio Kato and I'm so happy to be joining the Crafty Meraki YouTube hub for their latest release. I actually made a set of 2 cards today because I messed up while filming, so I had to film parts of it again and I figured out why not make a different card. So I started off by die cutting this Lila die set by Crafty Meraki a couple of times. I die cut it a couple of times out of different colored cardstocks, and then I also die cut it 2 times for each color out of white cardstock. And you can see I kept all of those dies in place, or die cuts in place, with some purple tape on the back. Now you know I love my dimensions, so I am layering these up, and I figured it was easiest to do when those were in order, when the colored die cuts were in the same order as the ones in the white space. So I just arranged them onto a different piece of white die cuts and then glued them all on there together. And especially with these die cuts, which are very small and very tiny, but they are all die cut at the same time. It's one big die that die cuts all of these pieces. So it's really easy to keep them in place onto in their negative space, just with some tape on the back. That's my biggest tip for today. Use a lot of purple tape. You can see it here as well. I placed all of those die cuts on strips of purple tape that are facing upwards. I just taped the purple tape down with more purple tape to keep everything in place while I ink blended them. So I added a little bit more saturated color and shading just with some ink blending. I did the same for the leaf die cuts, and these are all layered on top of white cardstock before ink blending because that makes them sturdier and easier to handle as well. So if you're going to do layering, you might as well do it before you add your color to them. Now, the first card I am going to be assembling is the one where I messed up with filming. So these are the colors you weren't shown while I did my ink blending and my die cut assembling beforehand. So I die cut that, also a die by Crafty Meraki. This is the Parisienne die. I couldn't think of the name. I die cut that out of some white cardstock that just leaves some stitched detail in the background, which is a lovely subtle background. And I die cut that again with a stitched die by My Favorite Things and propped that up on top of a piece of cardboard, and that gives it some nice sturdy dimension. I also backed it with a piece of gray cardstock, so it's not white on white, it's just white on gray, which is a really fun look that I've been playing around with for the past couple of weeks now. I didn't usually do this, but I really like how it turned out. So I'm just arranging all of the pieces on there. I'm gluing everything in place, although I am letting those leaves flare up at the top so to give this card some movement. And then I'm just arranging all of the tiny die cuts on top of the places where they're supposed to go. I am trying to glue them down, which is a little bit hard because I also layered up the stems. They also have some dimension to them, so it's not as easy to adhere those pieces down on top of the stems, those little bluebells or whatever they are. I love working with florals on my cards, but I have no idea what any of their names are, so I am just gluing all the little flowers on top of the stems and trying my best to adhere them down. I'm pressing quite hard in some places and just adding a lot of glue to them. As far as putting these flowers together, apart from the gluing them down part, it's quite easy. You just want to make sure that the larger bluebells, or again, whatever they are adhered at the bottom, because that, I think, makes more sense anatomically wise. So now for the second card, I basically did the same thing. I just used more colors and I also used a different background. My card is backed with silver cardstock, just some matte silver cardstock. I really like that. And I used the Pagoni Mania die, which also was released this release. I am just arranging my leaves on top of the card I created before because those are a great way to, those are a great guideline for the rest of the card. And I picked them up with a piece of press and seal, and that makes it really easy to adhere them in the same spot because I didn't want to switch it up too much. I liked the arrangement on the first card. I just wanted to change up the colors. Where the first card is a little bit more muted, and it could be a great sympathy card, I think. I am going to make this a little bit more happy. I am going to make this a rainbow card. So I am again gluing all of the pieces down. These are again backed with a bunch of layers of thick white cardstock. The stems have 2 layers of thick white cardstock behind them, and the leaves, I would have done the same thing except that the green cardstock I used for the leaves is already very, very thick. So I only back that with 1 layer of thick white cardstock. And then I had to play around with the colors. And that was probably the hardest part about this card. I didn't know how I wanted my rainbow to go. I didn't know if I wanted to try and keep it linear, which is what I ended up doing, or if I wanted to just glue all the colors down randomly, just some purple in between the yellow or whatever ended up happening. But I ended up going from yellow down at the bottom to blue up at the top of the flowers. And I didn't add green in my flowers because the leaves are already green, so I figured that would make a good rainbow already. I really love how this card turned out. I definitely prefer the rainbow one, but I really like the muted elegance of the first one. I don't make cards like this often with just die cuts, but I had a lot of fun with these. Then while I add my tiny embellishments with the Nouveau Deluxe adhesive, I wanted to say that there is a YouTube hop. This is part of a YouTube hop, so there are more videos to watch with inspiration for this new release for Crafty Meraki. All the information is in the description box below. I highly recommend you check it out because there's also a giveaway. Make sure you leave a comment on each stop of the hop for a chance to win $100 worth of Crafty Meraki product. That is a big giveaway, you guys, so if I were you, I'd take my chance and leave some extra comments maybe. Later in the week, we will also have some giveaways over on Instagram with more inspiration from the design team, and I can't wait for you to see all their products. I am very, very proud to be part of this team. Everyone is so talented. I really enjoyed seeing everyone's inspiration. For a matching envelope for the rainbow card, I made a white envelope just out of some pattern paper. And this pattern paper actually just has some foiling on it. So it's silver foil pattern on some white cardstock, and I really love it with the silver on the background of my card. And for the other card, I used some plain purple paper to go with the bluebells that were purple on that card and blue. But I figured the purple cardstock would look really pretty, especially with that green as well. I love purple and green. So I ended up making 2 cards because I messed up while filming, but I really like both of them and I hope you like them too. If you did, make sure to leave a thumbs up on this video and leave your thoughts in the comments below. I would love to read them. And of course, check out all of the other videos in this hop for more inspiration with the new release. There are a bunch of floral dies in this release. I think in total there are 4 different floral die sets. There is one other floral die set like this where you have to assemble different pieces, and there are 2 floral die sets that have just florals in one piece, and they are really gorgeous as well. I really love those too. Of course, there's also a bunch of stamps and a bunch of background dies. You know, Crafty Meraki loves their background dies. And there's also some embellishments and stencils, which is a first for Crafty Meraki, but I really like these. I actually have a project coming up soon, an Easter project coming up soon with one of the stencils, and I hope you stick around for that. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you next time.